everybody. Welcome to the Current View on DAMC TV, your independent source for trucking news. I am your host, Chris Bikerson. What we're going to talk about tonight's show here, and I'd like to apologize for my long absence. It's been a little bit crazy for the last couple months since Richmond. But what we're going to talk about tonight is a crystal ball. We're going to talk about looking into the future. And before we talk about looking into the future, I want you to stop and I want you to think about something. I want you to back up your world. I want you to back up for about 10 days. Let's go back to about 10 days ago. What would you have said, or what would you have thought of me if 10 days ago I told you, I predicted, I said, you know what, with this whole virus scare we got going on, I'm predicting that the NBA, the NCAA, Major League Baseball, they're all going to suspend all their sporting events, or they're going to play the games with no fans there. And the Mr. Universe international bodybuilding competition that happens every year, that's going to be not canceled, but it's going to go without any fan attendance. And so is NASCAR. You know, NASCAR is going to go without any fan attendance as well. They're going to run some races, but not allow fans to be there to see them. What if I had said 10 days ago that entire states would be canceling school for children because of this virus? That college campuses would be closed, some of them for the remainder of this school year, taking a break from now until spring break, and then after spring break only allowing online forums before they break for the summer. That city by city you would see the banning of public gatherings of any large type. That the stock market would plunge over 2,000 points in one day and then continue to struggle and drop some more. That major corporations will be closing their buildings and sending their employees home, either to work from home or to simply stand by until they could work again. That there would be massive travel restrictions put in place, and that store shelves would start going empty. What would you have thought of me 10 days ago if I had predicted those things with what you knew 10 days ago? Well, I don't know what's going on in your head right now, but I can tell you that most of you probably would have wrote me off as being a tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist that had clearly gone off the deep end. There was no way 10 days ago you would have believed a prediction of what has actually taken place right here in the last 2 days, for the most part, some things a little bit earlier. And so, in that context, I want you to stop and ask yourself, and I want you to think, what are the next 10 days going to bring? What will the next 10 weeks bring? The next 10 months? And how crazy am I going to sound tonight if I offer some predictions of what might happen in the next 10 days, 10 weeks, or 10 months? So before you write off anything I say tonight, I want you to think about how crazy I would have sounded 10 days ago if everything I told you that came true today, I was saying then, with what you knew then. Now, with that being said, before I go on, I want you to consider the possibility that what's happening right now is not about a virus. I want you to consider that the response to the virus that you're seeing now was planned out a long time ago, and that it might be a part of some bigger plan. So open your mind up to those possibilities. Okay, sorry for that interruption there. Looks like the server cut me off. But I want you to open your mind up, and I want you to think in those terms that you had no idea what was going to happen 10 days ago. And you have no idea what's coming in the next 10 days, much less the next 10 weeks or the next 10 months. So I want you to stop, and I want you to think about some things to consider. Right now, there's a containment zone going on in New Rochelle, New York. Now, it's what I would consider to be a soft containment zone, meaning that there's no fences, there's no armed guards. The people that are inside that containment zone are allowed to come and go. They are asking that people inside that containment zone, if they are ill, to please self-quarantine. They're saying, yes, the rest of you can come and go as you please, but we're asking that all schools be closed within this containment zone, and that there's no public gatherings within this containment zone. And by the way, take all the precautions you can, but we are going to be sending the National Guard down there, but don't worry. The National Guard is not there to do any military or police function. They're there only to help you, to assist you. They're bringing medical supplies. They've got water. They've got various supplies that could help some people in need. They're just there to assist you. That's a soft containment zone. But what if, and I want you to think about this. What if the decision is made suddenly to change that soft containment zone into a hard containment zone, where you're no longer free to come and go as you please, where the request to not have any kind of public gatherings is no longer a request, but a mandate? What if, while this soft containment zone is going on, they're just getting people accustomed to the idea and the presence of military vehicles and military personnel, so that when the switch is made, it comes suddenly out of left field, just like everything else that's happened in the last 2 days has? What if all of a sudden you wake up one morning and that soft containment zone is no longer soft, and now there are fences up, like the ones we saw in Richmond? There are armed personnel there. They are forbidding you to get out of the zone. What if then, very quietly, after they've put a media silence on it and only allow cameras where they want them, and gone through and temporarily disabled people from being able to broadcast out of the area, what if they then say, dementia is a part of this virus, and I think we need to have some teams move in here and disarm people for their own well-being. We'll use this red flag law to do that, because we know that this virus could cause people to not be in the right state of mind. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but what if it does? But what if before that happens there in New Rochelle, what if these little containment zones start kind of popping up all over the country very rapidly as one event being canceled became everything being canceled? I really want you to think about that. What about all these canceling any large public gatherings? What happens if that extends to small gatherings as well? No traveling in groups of 5 or more. What if those travel restrictions that are currently pretty much international, what if they become domestic? And what if the stock market continues to collapse, which it's sure to do if we stay on the course that we're on right now? Then what happens? The economy collapses, people have no income coming in, everybody's in their quarantine zones. I don't know. I don't have the answers. I don't have a crystal ball, which is kind of the point of this episode. But what I'm telling you is my head is spinning after what I've seen happen in the last few days. Yours should be too. You should be thinking about these things. You should have a plan in place. Me personally, I'm not going to be contained. But this isn't the 1940s and I'm not stupid. I know my history. I will not allow myself to be contained. I will not allow my family to be contained. Because I just don't think there's a very bright future for anyone who does allow themselves to be contained. I want you to give a lot of thought to what you see happening around you. I especially want you to pay attention to how fast it's happening. Almost like this was thought out before it was ever executed. What's really happening in America right now, what's really happening in the world right now, it's a very scary thing. We all know the world billionaires recently have become very interested in disarming everybody. We also know the world billionaires have suddenly taken an interest in pushing socialist agendas. What's the one pesky country that keeps getting in the way? What happened when they started making a major push to start a wave of disarmament in this country? 50,000 of us, more than 50,000, I don't care what the false reports say. I've seen what a downtown area looks like right before a major sporting event. There were 50,000 plus in Richmond. 50,000 people showed up bearing arms to say that we weren't going to take it. And now all of a sudden, look, less than 2 months later, there's this epidemic, this pandemic, and they're starting to take people and create quarantine zones and limit the number of people that can be gathered in one public place at one time. Folks, don't ignore your spidey senses. Take a look at what's happening. Think about what's happening. Think about history. Think about what anyone who wanted to make this kind of push to force a country into a socialist agenda, think like them. Think what lessons they may have learned from history and the changes they may have made. It's scary times we're living in. I hope I've given you something to think about tonight. I hope I've inspired you to at least make some plans for your family and those close to you. And on that note, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Good night, everyone. I hope for the best. I hope to be as wrong as possible. I hope to one day go back and laugh. I hope my friends make fun of me over a couple of cold beers and say, do you remember that time that you thought the world was coming to an end? And I can laugh and say, yeah, I was pretty convinced. But right now I don't know. I don't think any of us do. But I know we all need to be on our toes. We all need to question authority. We all need to challenge authority. We all need to demand accountability for what's happening. Once in history, a large group of people ignored signs, and they didn't question and they didn't challenge the things that they were being told. Don't be that next group of people. I'm Chris Bikerson. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you there, 10-4.